2026 is not a year that rewards effort. It is not a year that rewards loyalty. And it is definitely not a year that rewards being a good person. That illusion is dead. What replaces it is far colder and far simpler. Position decides outcome. You can work harder than everyone around you and still be invisible. You can be smarter than your peers and still be irrelevant. You can be morally right and still lose everything. Because 2026 does not punish weakness directly. It ignores it. And ignorance, in modern systems, is a slower but more absolute death. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He never assumed the world was fair. He never assumed power rewarded virtue. He observed how power actually moved, quietly, indirectly, and without apology. And the world of 2026 finally looks like the world he described. The core shift of 2026. Effort is no longer visible. In previous decades, effort had a signal. You worked hard. People noticed. Progress followed, slowly, imperfectly, but predictably. That system is gone. I compresses effort to near zero. Automation eras visible labor. Platforms amplify perception, not process. In 2026, no one sees how hard you worked. They only see where you appear to stand. And systems do not reward invisible inputs. They reward perceived leverage. This is why so many competent people feel stuck, angry, or betrayed. They are still playing by a rulebook that no longer exists. Machiavelli warned against this exact mistake. Confusing personal virtue with structural power. 2026 rewards placement, not contribution. Look closely at any modern system. Corporations, media platforms, financial markets, social influence, political narratives. The winners are not the most capable contributors. They are the ones who control entry points, exits, and flow. They decide. Asterisk, who gets access. Asterisk, who waits. Asterisk, who must ask. Asterisk, who can refuse. And the moment you control flow, you stop competing. Others begin adapting around you. This is the first Machiavellian lesson of 2026. Do not ask how valuable you are. Ask how unavoidable you are. The danger of moral self-image in 2026. One of the most dangerous positions in 2026 is believing, I deserve more because I do more. Systems do not respond to deserve. They respond to constraint. Machiavelli never told rulers to be evil for pleasure. He told them to understand that morality has no leverage without power. In 2026, moral signaling without position becomes a liability. Why? Because, asterisk, it makes you predictable. Asterisk, it makes you explain yourself. Asterisk, it makes you hesitate when hesitation is punished. And hesitation is fatal in environments optimized for speed and automation. Those who survive 2026 are not cruel. They are unsentimental. They do not argue with reality. They align with it. Power in 2026 is asymmetrical and indirect. Another illusion dying in 2026 is the idea of direct confrontation. The strongest actors do not debate. They do not over-explain. They do not convince through force of logic. They change the conditions under which logic operates. This is classic Machiavelli. If you fight openly, you expose yourself. If you signal opposition, you become a target. If you moralize loudly, you attract resistance. But if you quietly reposition, others suddenly discover they need you. And need is the purest form of power. Why intelligence alone fails in 2026. Intelligence used to be a differentiator. In 2026, it is baseline. I has flattened cognitive advantage. Information is free. Analysis is abundant. What is scarce is asterisk attention gateways. Asterisk decision authority. Asterisk. Machiavelli would say, intelligence without placement only sharpens your awareness of your own powerlessness. That is why highly intelligent people suffer the most in unstable systems. They see the problem clearly, but lack the position to change it. Clarity without leverage is torture. The first strategic question of 2026. If you take only one question from this section, let it be this: where does the system force others to pass through? Not, what am I good at? Not, what do I believe in? Not, what do I deserve? But, where do money, decisions, legitimacy, or access have no alternative route? Machiavelli did not build power by standing in front of crowds. He observed choke points. And in 2026, choke points are everything. The quiet truth no one wants to say. 2026 is not cruel. It is indifferent. It does not punish effort. It simply stops noticing it. Those who fail in 2026 will not be destroyed dramatically. They will be asterisk, slowly sidelined, asterisk, gently ignored, asterisk, politely excluded, and exclusion feels peaceful until it becomes permanent. This is why Machiavelli remains relevant, not because he glorified domination, but because he taught survival without illusions. 2026 is not asking whether you are talented. It is asking whether you are positioned. If you are not, no amount of effort will save you. In the next part, we will move deeper into the Machiavellian core of 2026. Why perception matters more than reality, and how those who control perception no longer need to argue, explain, or prove anything at all. Stay cold. Stay precise. Do not mistake effort for leverage. Perception over reality. The invisible lever of power in 2026. In 2026, reality no longer wins by being true. It wins by being accepted. This is not a philosophical claim. It is a structural one. Most people still believe that if something is good enough, honest enough, or proven enough, it will eventually be recognized. That belief is not naive. It is obsolete. Because modern systems do not reward accuracy. They reward alignment with perception. And those who control perception no longer need to argue, explain, or defend themselves. Niccolò Machiavelli understood this long before algorithms, media cycles, or AI amplification existed. His insight was simple and brutal. People do not respond to truth. They respond to what appears stable, dominant, and inevitable. In 2026, that insight becomes operational. Why truth alone collapses in 2026. Truth requires time. Perception operates instantly. Truth demands explanation. Perception spreads without effort. Truth invites debate. Perception ends conversation. Modern platforms compress attention to seconds. AI generates convincing outputs at scale. Consensus forms faster than verification. In this environment, truth becomes fragile, not because it disappears, but because it arrives too late. By the time reality proves itself, the system has already moved on. Machiavelli would say this clearly. A ruler who waits for truth to be recognized is already losing authority. The new hierarchy of power. In 2026, power follows this order. 1. Those who define what is normal. 2. Those who define what is risky. 3. Those who define what is irrelevant. Notice what is missing. Truth does not appear on this list. Competence does not appear on this list. Effort does not appear on this list. Why? Because systems are not moral judges. They are coordination mechanisms. They reward what reduces uncertainty and friction, not what is correct. This is why perception outranks reality. Perception creates cost without force. One of Machiavelli's most misunderstood ideas is fear. He did not mean terror or violence. He meant anticipated consequence. In 2026, the strongest form of fear is not punishment. It is reputational risk. When perception shifts against someone, people hesitate to associate. Opportunities quietly vanish. Access narrows. No one needs to attack. The system self-corrects around the perception. This is power at its most efficient, and it is entirely invisible. Why explanation is a losing move? In earlier eras, explanation signaled competence. In 2026, explanation signals weak position. When you explain, you admit uncertainty. You open space for challenge. You invite negotiation. Those with strong perception do not explain. They assert through presence. Machiavelli warned rulers never to argue on equal footing with challengers. The moment you debate, you acknowledge parity. In 2026, parity is fatal. Silence, timing, and selective visibility now carry more authority than words. The perception trap most people fall into. Here is the trap. People believe perception can be corrected by facts. So they clarify, justify, provide evidence, defend intentions. But perception does not update rationally. It updates socially. It changes when respected figures adjust behavior. Access shifts. Silence replaces validation. Not when facts are added. Those who understand this stop trying to be understood. They focus on where and when they appear. How perception replaces persuasion. Persuasion requires effort on both sides. Perception requires none. When perception is established, others pre-adjust their behavior. Resistance weakens automatically. Cooperation becomes default. This is why the most powerful actors in 2026 rarely persuade. They do not convince. They frame. They set the context in which choices are made. Machiavelli would recognize this instantly. The best power is the kind that never needs to be exercised. The danger of transparency culture. 2026 celebrates transparency. Publicly. Privately, transparency destroys leverage. When everything is explained, mystery disappears. Predictability increases. Negotiation power collapses. Machiavelli understood that unpredictability was not cruelty, it was protection. Those who reveal too much in 2026 become manageable, and what is manageable can be replaced. Opacity, used strategically, creates gravity. Perception is not deception. This must be said clearly. Perception is not lying. It is selective visibility. You do not need to fake strength. You need to avoid broadcasting weakness. You do not need to invent authority. You need to avoid unnecessary exposure. The mistake most people make is oversharing their process, their doubts, and their intentions, believing this creates trust. In reality, it creates negotiation advantage for others. The Machiavellian rule of 2026. If you remember one rule from this section, let it be this. Whoever controls interpretation controls outcome, not by force, not by argument, but by positioning perception so that alternatives feel unsafe, uncertain, or unnecessary. This is why the strongest figures in 2026 appear calm, detached, and minimal. They are not inactive. They are unprovoked. Closing for part 2. Reality still matters, but only after perception allows it to matter. Those who master perception do not fight reality. They decide when reality is allowed to appear. In the next part, we will move deeper into the core survival strategy of Machiavelli in 2026. Why the strongest position is standing behind the rules, not in front of the crowd, and how indirect control outlasts open dominance. Do not rush to prove. Do not rush to explain. In 2026, power belongs to those who understand when not to speak. Behind the rules, not in front of the crowd. In unstable eras, weak players step forward and speak louder. Strong players step back and change the rules. This distinction defines who survives 2026. Most people still believe power is visible. They believe it stands on stages, speaks confidently, and confronts opposition directly. That belief is dangerous, because in 2026, visibility without insulation is exposure. Niccolò Machiavelli never advised rulers to rule from the front. He advised them to control the structure from which outcomes emerge. The crowd is noise. The rules shape reality, and those who stand in front of the crowd eventually get consumed by it. Why direct dominance fails in 2026? Direct dominance worked when systems were slow. If you were stronger, louder, or more forceful, you could impose outcomes. If conflict escalated, the one with more resources won. That model collapses in 2026. Why? Because exposure spreads instantly. Backlash scales automatically. Coordination against you is frictionless. The moment you position yourself as the visible controller, you become the focal point of resistance. Machiavelli understood this centuries ago. He warned that power which attracts attention also attracts enemies. In 2026, enemies do not attack you openly. They undermine legitimacy quietly. The crowd is not a base, it is a threat. The crowd appears powerful. It looks like support. It feels validating. But the crowd is unstable by nature. Crowds, change sentiment rapidly. Demand constant signaling. Turn on leaders without warning. Standing in front of the crowd requires continuous performance. And performance creates dependency. Once you depend on approval, you lose leverage. This is why Machiavelli distrusted popularity when it was not backed by structure. In 2026, popularity without institutional position is fragile power. Real power hides in procedural control. Look at who actually wins in modern systems. Not the loudest voice, not the most admired personality, but the ones who decide. Criteria. Thresholds. Timelines. Access conditions. They rarely speak publicly. They rarely justify decisions. They rarely engage emotionally. They sit behind processes. Machiavelli would recognize this immediately. He wrote that laws, norms, and procedures are stronger than force because they appear neutral while enforcing preference. In 2026, neutrality is the most effective disguise of power. Standing behind rules creates asymmetry. When you stand in front of the crowd, you must persuade. You must defend. You must respond. When you stand behind the rules, others must adapt. Others must comply. Others must explain. This asymmetry is everything. You stop arguing about outcomes. You only define conditions. Those who dislike the outcome are told, these are the rules. And rules do not argue back. Why moral leadership collapses without structure? Many people want to lead ethically in 2026. They want to stand visibly for values. This instinct is understandable and strategically suicidal without position. Machiavelli never rejected morality. He rejected moral exhibitionism without power. When you lead morally from the front, you invite scrutiny. You invite contradiction. Asterisk, you invite tests of consistency, and consistency becomes a weapon used against you. Those who survive 2026 lead morally through systems, not speeches. They embed values into mechanisms, not declarations. Indirect control outlasts direct authority. Direct authority depends on recognition. Indirect control depends on dependency. If people need your approval to proceed, they will align without confrontation. If people need your framework to operate, they will defend it on your behalf. This is the highest Machiavellian position. Others enforce the structure you benefit from, and you remain distant from conflict. The illusion of transparency and participation. 2026 celebrates openness, collaboration, and shared decision-making. But behind every open system is a narrow control layer. True power never dissolves itself. It redistributes visibility. Machiavelli warned that rulers who confuse participation with control eventually lose both. In 2026, participation is often a containment strategy. People feel involved while real decisions happen elsewhere. Those who design the container remain untouched. Why stepping back increases authority? There is a counterintuitive truth in 2026. The less you visibly push, the more others move around you. When you stop reacting, asterisk, others project meaning, asterisk, others anticipate consequences, asterisk, others self-correct. This is not passivity, it is positional silence. Machiavelli understood that silence at the right level signals inevitability. Noise belongs to those who need attention. Silence belongs to those who already command outcomes. The strategic mistake of being the symbol. Symbols attract emotion. Emotion attracts volatility. When you become the symbol of a movement, idea, or conflict, asterisk, attacks become personal. Asterisk, failure becomes amplified. Asterisk, replacement becomes attractive. Those who endure 2026 refuse to be symbols. They let others speak. They let others represent. They remain structurally essential but personally distant. This is not cowardice. It is longevity. The Machiavellian rule of position in 2026. If you remember one rule from this part, remember this. Never stand where reaction is required. Stand where adjustment is required. Reaction drains power. Adjustment enforces it. This is the difference between visibility and control. The crowd is temporary. Rules endure. Those who survive 2026 do not lead from the front. They design the ground others must stand on. In the next part, we will examine the most misunderstood Machiavellian concept, fear, and why in 2026 it no longer means punishment, but the silent fear of losing access, position, and relevance. Do not rush to lead. First, decide where the rules are written. Fear without violence. How power operates silently in 2026. Fear has not disappeared in 2026. It has evolved. It no longer looks like threats, punishment, or visible force. Those methods are inefficient, traceable, and politically expensive. Modern fear is quieter, cleaner, almost polite. Niccolo Machiavelli never meant fear as cruelty. He meant anticipated loss. The expectation that crossing a certain line will cost you something you cannot easily replace. In 2026, that cost is not physical, it is positional. The biggest misunderstanding of Machiavellian fear. Most people hear Machiavelli's famous line, "It is safer to be feared than loved," and imagine tyranny. That interpretation is shallow. Machiavelli was not describing emotional terror. He was describing behavioral predictability. Fear, in his framework, is simply the mechanism that prevents others from testing boundaries. In 2026, fear is not created by punishment. It is created by the visibility of consequences. And the most effective consequences today are invisible. The new currency of fear. Access. In modern systems, almost everything valuable is mediated by access. Access to platforms, networks, capital, distribution, attention, legitimacy. When access disappears, nothing dramatic happens. No announcement, no confrontation. Things simply stop moving. Emails go unanswered. Invitations stop arriving. Opportunities quietly reroute. This is fear in 2026. Not the fear of being attacked, but the fear of becoming irrelevant. Why punishment is obsolete. Punishment creates enemies. Enemies coordinate. Punishment attracts sympathy. Sympathy creates backlash. Machiavelli understood that overt punishment is a last resort, not a default tool. In 2026, punishment is inefficient because it generates visibility. It creates narratives. It invites resistance. Silent exclusion does none of this. It feels natural. It feels deserved. It feels self-inflicted. That is why it works. Fear without threats is the strongest form. When someone knows, there will be no argument. No warning. No explanation. They begin to regulate themselves. They choose safer language. They avoid risky associations. They pre-adjust behavior. This is not oppression. This is self-censorship induced by uncertainty. Machiavelli would recognize this instantly. The most stable rule is the one that requires no enforcement. Why being liked becomes dangerous. Being liked feels safe. It feels cooperative. It feels human. But in 2026, being liked creates dependency on approval. Approval is unstable. Approval must be maintained. Approval can be withdrawn collectively. Those who rely on being liked are forced to explain themselves. Soften decisions. Compromise boundaries. Fear-based positioning removes this obligation. Not fear of you as a person, fear of losing alignment with your position. The difference between cruelty and deterrence. Cruelty acts after the violation. Deterrence acts before it. Machiavelli favored deterrence. In 2026, deterrence looks like clear patterns of exclusion, consistent silence, predictable, withdrawal of access, no drama, no explanation. People learn faster from absence than from punishment. How modern fear spreads automatically. Fear no longer needs to be communicated directly. It spreads socially. Someone watches another person lose invitations. Disappear from networks. Stop being referenced. No announcement is made. No blame is assigned. Observers draw conclusions on their own. This is why modern power does not threaten. It allows observation to do the work. Why anger is a signal of weakness. Those who still use anger in 2026 misunderstand leverage. Anger reveals. Emotional investment. Loss of control. Reactive position. It gives opponents information. Fear, when properly designed, requires no emotion. It operates through structure, not expression. Machiavelli warned that emotional rulers invite manipulation. The same applies today. Fear must be predictable, not arbitrary. Random fear creates chaos. Chaos invites rebellion. Effective fear is consistent. People must know. What lines exist. That crossing them has cost. That cost is unavoidable. But they must not know exactly how or when the cost appears. This ambiguity preserves authority while avoiding direct conflict. The silent hierarchy of 2026. In 2026, hierarchy is rarely announced. It is inferred. Those at the top, asterisk, do not chase, asterisk, do not explain, asterisk. Those below, asterisk, adjust language, asterisk, seek alignment, avoid risk. No one declares fear. Behavior reveals it. This is Machiavellian order adapted to modern systems. The ethical discomfort most people feel. Many people resist this idea because it feels cold. That discomfort comes from confusing kindness with effectiveness. Machiavelli never argued against kindness. He argued against naivety. In 2026, refusing to understand fear does not make you ethical. It makes you vulnerable. Systems do not reward moral intent. They reward strategic clarity. The rule of fear for 2026. If you remember one rule from this part, remember this. Do not make people fear you. Make people fear losing alignment with you. Fear of loss is stronger than fear of attack, and it requires no aggression. Power in 2026 is quiet. It does not shout. It does not threaten. It does not explain. It simply withdraws, and others adjust. In the next part, we will examine the deepest layer of Machiavellian strategy for 2026. How controlling reactions, not people, allows you to shape outcomes without ever appearing to control anything at all. Stay restrained. Stay unreadable. Power no longer needs permission. Control reactions, not people. The final form of power in 2026. The ultimate mistake most people make when thinking about power is this. They believe power means controlling others. That belief is outdated. In 2026, controlling people directly is inefficient, visible, and fragile. The highest form of power no longer touches people at all. It controls reactions. Niccolo Machiavelli understood this long before modern psychology gave it names. He knew that human behavior does not move because of commands. It moves because of anticipation, fear, and interpretation. Whoever controls how people react no longer needs to control what they do. Why direct control collapses in 2026? Direct control requires asterisk authority that must be defended. Asterisk enforcement that creates resistance. Asterisk visibility that invites attack. In a hyper-connected world, every attempt at direct control creates friction. Friction creates noise. Noise creates enemies. Enemies coordinate faster than ever. This is why modern power avoids commands. Instead, it shapes the environment in which reactions happen. When the environment is right, behavior adjusts on its own. Reactions are the real leverage point. People believe they choose freely. In reality, most behavior is reactive. They react to incentives, asterisk risks, asterisk social signals, asterisk. If you influence those inputs, you do not need to persuade anyone. Machiavelli observed this in courts and republics. The modern version appears in platforms, markets, and institutions. People do not ask, "What is right?" They ask, "What happens if I do this?" That question governs everything. The illusion of freedom in modern systems. 2026 is not an age of coercion. It is an age of guided autonomy. People feel free because no one orders them, but their options are quietly narrowed. They are free to choose, as long as they choose within the acceptable frame. Machiavelli would recognize this as ideal governance. When people believe decisions are theirs, resistance disappears. How reaction control actually works. Reaction control does not use force. It uses predictability. People learn patterns such as certain actions lead to silence. Certain opinions lead to exclusion. Asterisk. Certain alignments lead to opportunity. No explanation is required. Over time, people stop testing boundaries. They internalize them. At that point, control becomes automatic. Why silence is stronger than response. Response legitimizes the question. Silence dissolves it. In 2026, silence is not absence. It is selective presence. When you do not respond, asterisk. Others overinterpret. Asterisk. Uncertainty grows. Asterisk. Behavior adjusts preemptively. Machiavelli understood that rulers who reacted emotionally surrendered initiative. The one who does not react sets the tempo. Reaction control versus manipulation. This distinction matters. Manipulation targets individuals. It is tactical and fragile. Reaction control targets systems of expectation. It is structural and durable. You are not forcing anyone to act. You are shaping what actions feel safe, risky, or pointless. This is why reaction control scales effortlessly. The role of ambiguity. Clear threats provoke defiance. Clear rules invite loopholes. Ambiguity prevents both. When people are unsure where the boundary is, they stay farther from it. Machiavelli favored controlled ambiguity because it reduced the need for punishment. In 2026, ambiguity is a strategic asset. Why emotional neutrality terrifies systems? Emotion signals investment. Investment signals leverage. When you remain emotionally neutral, asterisk. Others cannot provoke you. Asterisk. Others cannot predict you. Asterisk. Others cannot anchor strategy around you. This neutrality creates imbalance. And imbalance forces others to compensate. The calm actor becomes the reference point. Everyone else adjusts around them. The hidden hierarchy of reactions. Watch carefully in any system. Who reacts first? Who explains? Who apologizes? Who stays silent? That sequence reveals the real hierarchy. Those who react are downstream. Those who do not are upstream. Machiavelli taught rulers to remain upstream of emotion and urgency. In 2026, urgency is a trap. The danger of righteousness. Righteousness feels powerful. It feels justified. But righteousness triggers reaction. It pulls you into debates, defenses, and moral posturing. Those who survive 2026 avoid righteousness. They prefer structural advantage. They let systems deliver outcomes, not arguments. Reaction control creates inevitability. When reactions are controlled, asterisk, opposition feels pointless. Asterisk, resistance feels costly. Asterisk, compliance feels natural. No one feels oppressed. No one feels attacked. They simply feel that certain paths are not worth it. That is the end state Machiavelli aimed for. The final rule of Machiavellian power in 2026. If you remember one rule from this entire series, let it be this. Never try to control people. Control the reactions that shape their choices. When reactions are predictable, outcomes follow. Power in 2026 does not dominate. It does not persuade. It does not threaten. It arranges conditions. Those who understand this stop fighting the world. They let the world reorganize around them. This is not cruelty. It is clarity. And clarity is what separates those who survive 2026 from those who remain confused, angry, and replaceable. How to stand untouchable in 2026. By now, one thing should be clear. 2026 does not reward effort. It does not reward virtue. It does not reward intelligence alone. It rewards those who understand structure. This final part is not about adding new tactics. It is about cutting away the last illusions that keep people weak. Niccolo Machiavelli never tried to comfort the reader. He tried to wake them up. This is that moment, the last illusion. If I stay neutral, I'll be safe. Neutrality without position is not safety. It is invisibility. In 2026, invisible people are not protected. They are ignored. Systems do not attack what they do not see. They also do not reward it. Machiavelli warned against this centuries ago. Those who try to remain harmless often end up helpless. To survive 2026, you must be structurally relevant, not morally neutral. Why waiting is no longer an option. Many people believe they are waiting for the right moment. The truth is harsher. They are waiting because they do not control any leverage point. Time does not reward patience anymore. Time rewards positioned patience. If nothing flows through you, no decisions, no access, no bottleneck, then waiting only makes you easier to replace. In 2026, momentum belongs to those who interrupt flow, not those who hope to be noticed. The moment you become untouchable, you do not become untouchable by being strong. You become untouchable by being costly to remove. Costly does not mean dangerous. It means inconvenient. When removing you creates friction. Asterisk, delays decisions. Asterisk, disrupts coordination. Asterisk, breaks continuity. People choose adaptation over confrontation. This is Machiavelli's quiet victory. Power no longer announces itself. One of the clearest signals of modern power is this: it does not introduce itself. It does not explain itself. It does not justify itself. It is discovered only when people try to move without it and fail. In 2026, the strongest actors are not admired. They are relied upon. The difference between ambition and strategy. Ambition seeks outcomes. Strategy seeks positions. Ambition asks, how do I win? Strategy asks, where do others lose options if I am here? Machiavelli would choose strategy every time, because outcomes change. Positions compound. Why resentment is a dead end. Those who fail in 2026 often become resentful. They complain about asterisk, unfair systems, manipulation, corruption, asterisk, cold behavior. Machiavelli would dismiss all of this as irrelevant. Resentment signals one thing: you are emotionally reacting to a structure you do not control. Reaction is weakness. Adjustment is power. The world does not change because you dislike it. It changes when you occupy leverage. The final discipline: emotional containment. At the highest level, power requires one discipline above all others. Emotional containment. Anger leaks information. Fear invites pressure. Eagerness lowers value. Those who survive 2026 learn to feel everything and reveal nothing. This is not repression. It is control. Machiavelli understood that the ruler who cannot contain emotion will always be ruled by someone who can. What winning in 2026 actually looks like. Winning does not look heroic. It does not look loud. It does not look dramatic. Winning looks like this. Asterisk, people check with you before acting. Asterisk, your absence is felt immediately. Asterisk, your silence changes behavior. No announcement, no confrontation, just adjustment. The final Machiavellian rule for 2026. If you take only one sentence from this entire series, take this: do not try to be powerful. Position yourself so that power has to pass through you. Everything else is decoration. Final words: no comfort, only clarity. 2026 will not destroy most people. It will simply pass them by. Those who remain emotional, reactive, and visible without leverage will feel confused and exhausted. Those who understand position, perception, fear, and reaction will move quietly ahead. Machiavelli never promised justice. He promised survival through clarity. This series is not motivation. It is orientation. If you understand it and act accordingly, you will not need luck in 2026. The system will adjust around you. And that is the only form of safety that still exists.